know there's a lot of real estate investors out there because I've met them that work out of spreadsheets.
My whole background is in finance actually before real estate, and I worked in corporate.
They don't have to spend the first 10 years in the trenches and then work their way up. They can start with one good property. You need to refinance a property. You need to be able to have a lot of documentation ready, and most people don't. Welcome to the Property Profits Podcast. Thank you so much for jumping on. We have a special guest today, and it's actually my first live in-person podcast. Without further ado, Brittany Frederick is coming on to drop some finance game on us, and she's my girlfriend also, just full disclosure. So I'm going to get started here. Britt, what do you got to say? I'll start with a question. All right. Britt has a company called Rethink Finance. All right, I'm gonna let her tell you what Rethink Finance is and why she started it.
Sure. Thank you for introducing me and letting me be on your podcast. But Rethink Finance is a financial services company that I started to help real estate investors with their accounting, their cash flow, and just understanding their financials. And I feel like to tell the story about how it started would really be to tell the story of how I started working with you.
Love it.
My whole background is in finance actually before real estate, and I worked in corporate financial planning and analysis for my whole career, including when I met Travis in 2020. I think it was 2020.
Sure.
Anyway, so at the time when we met, Travis wasn't as active on his socials, but we started talking from Texas to Chicago, where I'm from, and he would be telling me about all the real estate business that he had going on, and just, I didn't really know what any of that meant necessarily, but my finance side was so interested and curious, and I just kept asking him questions and learning about real estate, and I don't know where I was going with this, but...
Well, I think at the time I was working off of spreadsheets. Like I'm buying properties every other week.
Yes, so when I first met him, actually, he was working on raising quite a lot of money for one of your first mobile home park projects.
Yeah, big project, yeah.
And then I think at this point, you were just growing really quickly. I feel like you were buying single-family houses every other week in corporates, and I was like, tell me more.
Yeah, so I'm operating off of spreadsheets, and she's, damn, let me figure out how to help you. And she pretty much made me a badass spreadsheet.
Yeah, I just made a little bit better of a spreadsheet. He explained this process to me, and I was impressed because he was diligent about it, but he was keying numbers into Excel on the daily, like what has come into the business, what's gone out of the business, and I don't know, anyone who works in Excel would probably be horrified because it was like in each cell equals 1,000 plus 399 plus 10,000, like it was just crazy. I made a slightly better spreadsheet at that time. That was like the only improvement I made to his business at that moment.
We'll jump to when you bought your own single families and you started implementing spreadsheets at first, and you got an advance from there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So jumping all the way to me buying my first rental properties, that's when I really decided to jump into figuring out an accounting system. I didn't feel super confident implementing such a thing to Travis's business that was already pretty established and had a lot of properties, but for my own, I could dabble and figure it out 2 properties at a time. I bought QuickBooks, and I started studying all things like real estate accounting and how to best use QuickBooks to get my financials in order.
Cool. And I guess, did you just keep evolving after that? Today you have a company, it's called Rethink Finance. And just to reiterate, like, why did you open that company? I guess I want to tell people. I'm gonna recap. I'm working out of spreadsheets for a long time. I've been in this business 20 years, but whenever I decided to really ramp up, I was like, damn, I got to keep track of all this stuff. Came from oil and gas. So like, I didn't think bookkeepers or any of that. I was like, I got to keep track of it. And I know there's a lot of real estate investors out there because I've met them that work out of spreadsheets. So why'd you start Rethink Finance?
Yeah, I think just working with you and seeing and networking with other real estate professionals, I knew that wasn't unique to you. This is like what a lot of people are doing. They're bootstrapping their financials. They're barely making it at tax time to pull everything together. They don't have financials to show on potential lenders. That can limit opportunity. You can be just losing cash because you don't know what's coming in or out of the business. So that's really what I wanted to start Rethink Finance to do and solve.
Rethink Finance. Okay, let me back up here. If you're a real estate investor and you need to go cash out refi, you need to refinance a property, you need to be able to have a lot of documentation ready, and most people don't. They scramble for weeks, it takes forever, you might lose the loan. But Rethink Finance, you pretty much keep people on top of that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Accounting and bookkeeping and your financial foundation is number one. Normally when I start to work with someone, we build that foundation so you have good reporting and we can work from there. Sorry, yeah.
No, that's perfect. The thing is, a lot of people, I was talking to a flipper the other day, and he's, I got a 100K spread. And I'm like, all right, what's the numbers? And like, we're buying it for 150 and it's worth 250. I'm like, how much are you putting into it? Well, 60. I'm like, you don't have a 100K spread. Like, you might lose your ass, actually. And a lot of people operate like that. Like, I talked to people all day yesterday. It's flippers that can't sell their properties. And when they do, they still tell people they made a profit because they don't have their numbers. They don't know their numbers. So they keep repeating the same strategy, bad process strategy. And I'm guilty of it. I did it forever too. That's why I'm pointing it out. And I think that's part of a lot of real estate investors' journeys, but it doesn't have to be. And that's why we thought this would be important, because it doesn't have to be part of their journey. They don't have to spend the first 10 years in the trenches and then work their way up. They can start with one good property, know their numbers, get a good process, and then replicate it.
Absolutely. I think that starting from the beginning is always so fulfilling to see for people, because I know that cash flow problems and not having accounting systems and things, that scales with your portfolio. I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah.
Bad habits follow.
Yes. So it doesn't get better. The more properties and the more cash you have in your business, it amplifies it. It makes it much worse.
So there's a bank that we recently started transitioning my business accounts to personally. I think she's had some other clients she's doing as well, and it's called Relay Bank. And how do they work? What are you doing? Like, how are you setting up the accounts for clarity, all that stuff?
Yeah, so that's kind of part of the cash flow strategy that I like to work on with people. But Relay Bank, they're just an online banking platform, but they're made for small business owners, including real estate investors. And the beauty of them is that they allow you to open up, I think, up to 20 accounts per company, which is a lot of accounts. So I don't have anyone near that yet, but all of them have no minimum balance, no fees. It's all just like really easy. You can open it with a click of a mouse. You don't have to spend half a day at Wells Fargo. I'm sorry, I don't mind to name drop banks, but you don't need to spend half a day at an in-person bank setting up accounts. They're also the bank provider for this process called Profit First. I don't know. I can kind of explain what that is, but
yeah. So people are listening to this real great. We're operating on spreadsheets, hopefully even that. I know a lot of people aren't even doing that, right? I was there too. I've been in every process. You're not doing spreadsheets. What are you doing? You have a bank account now that lets you open all these other accounts. What does that look like for clarity with your money or your client's money? Like, how are you helping them categorize their money?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most business owners hopefully have a business account. Some don't, and they're operating out of their personal accounts, which is tough. But yeah, so a lot of people operate out of one, so everything that comes in, it's the same place it's coming out, and there's just not a lot of clarity about what do I have to work with, like what is my money doing. And so with Relay, it's really easy where you can open up a lot of different accounts to categorize your money, put it to work in different ways that you need it to. And just to be totally clear, basically you have a lot of the foundational accounts that I like to set up for people are an income account where all the money's coming in, and there it creates a natural pattern break where instead of all that money just flowing out in your expenses and all the things that you do in your business, you can make a decision about what you want to do. And as it comes in, you can allocate a little bit off the top to profit and not wait to see if profit's left over at the end of the day. You can set a little bit aside for taxes. set a little bit aside to paying yourself, and then you make the pie smaller for what's available to be spent on your expenses, which naturally decreases your expenses because you have to work within the realm that the funds that you've given to it.
Yeah.
And so I feel a lot of people, when they set up the system, naturally, they probably can't quite allocate as much as they want to these buckets, but they start decreasing their allocation to expense little by little. And a lot of people are able to reduce it 5, 10, 20%. So just by implementing this, they're really paying for any kind of accounting or financial services and creating more value in their business.
This would have been super helpful when I was burring like dozens of houses.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, you don't know what a burr is, you've been under a rock. But that's when you buy something, you rehab it, you rent it out, you refinance it, all that stuff, you pull money out, and you get large sums of money when you do this. And what she's talking about, that wouldn't normally go into an income, and I'm not a specialist at this. We just started that going to your income account and get divvied up. But most people, their income account's their main business account. So you just have this large sum of money and you're rolling, you think you are, and you're really just spending what you need, how you need it, and there's no rhyme or reason. So if y'all hear our dogs outside the door, they are crying, so sorry. But that's what she's doing in layman's terms, is just breaking up these accounts for people so that they can actually pay themselves. They know how the pie chart works. There is a pie chart. It's not just one big pie and you just reach out and when you need it, because that does not freaking work.
Yeah, and I would say real estate specifically, I like to open up an account called OPM, or other people's money. So sometimes when you get a loan to do a rehab project, like the lender is actually reserving some of the cash and they're giving it to you in draws, like a lender holdback. You can do that to yourself, almost self-managed, and put that money away into a separate account and pay yourself as you're needing it, so that you're not using that money for, I don't know, a tax return or a tax payment or paying yourself or whatever, and then leaving yourself dry in the rehab.
I'm going to tell you, and I know other people haven't done it if I've done it, right? Whenever I was buying a lot of single families, I wouldn't get draws. I have good relationships. I've always paid. So they would just send me large sums of money for rehab projects. That's fine. Say you have 4 or 5 going on at once, and you just have this large sum of money. You're commingling.
Oh, yeah.
Unintentionally, but say you went over here and you don't have these things. There was plenty of projects that I went over, and then I'm in a house that I have no money to renovate, and they gave me the money to renovate it. So now I got to go figure out how to make money to renovate. That's horrible.
Yeah, you're probably you're refinancing another property to get the money to finish that one.
I was doing that. I was in that race. That's actually why I pumped the brakes, because I'm like, damn, I'm behind a couple houses now. I got to figure it out.
Yeah, and if you have a system like QuickBooks or an accounting process, you're able to track all the expenses on those projects and the budget and things. So.
Yeah. Who is our dogs are about to join the podcast, y'all. Here they are. All right, so who's your ideal avatar for, who do you want to work with? Who can you benefit most?
Yeah, I like to say I work with people who own property or they move property. Okay. So not just folks who own real estate and have a portfolio. It could be wholesalers, tailors like you do, flippers, really anywhere in that field I can help specialize. I've only helped real estate professionals, investors, but I think my ideal avatar is someone who makes money, but they feel like they don't quite have control over their finances, or like they could understand a little more about their cash flow. I lost train of thought.
The dog almost knocked over our camera, but we're still recording.
We're still good.
Where can people find you? Say that they're like, you know what, we're ready to take that step. We want to get clarity in what we're doing. We understand the mission, the goal. We thank you for the podcast, right? Where can they find you to work with you or have a consultation to see if y'all are a good fit?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and I forgot to say, part of the ideal avatar is someone who is interested in their financials and who is motivated to take action, because it's really a partnership between your financial partner and yourself. I can understand your numbers, and it doesn't do much without you understanding and you taking action to improve the business. So I love that. I feel like a partner. But people can find me most on Facebook. I'm the most active. I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah.
Awesome.
To connect.
If y'all are interested, to shoot you a DM, email you, what works.
Sure, yeah. Find me on Facebook. Maybe we can save my email or something in the notes. But
Yeah, we'll put her email in the show notes. And yeah, reach out if you need that. If you have any questions, highly recommend if you're starting this journey to look at something like this. If you're advanced, you know what the hell I'm talking about. If you're not doing it yet, you need to be. Thank y'all so much for coming on. Thanks, Britt, for coming on. Thanks, dogs, for crashing the show. I make for good content, though. And yeah, thank y'all again.